Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Robert Frank with the Magic12. This is January the 17th, 2019, and we will continue with the book that we're reading, which is Psycho-Cybernetics and Self-Fulfillment. And as we always do, we'll leave off where we left off and start where we left off. And where we left off was number 10. And so number 10 is, excuse me, nostalgia for mental tone. I will begin the reading. An important aspect of relaxation is to yearn for mental, emotional tone, which brings muscle tone to your body. You reach this quality of tone when you are able to free yourself from the dead weight of negative feelings and dig for the valid treasure inside of you. Archaeologists, resourceful plunderers of time, recently discovered treasures in ancient Greece. Digging on the east coast of Antarctica, they discovered 15 wooden vases carved in geometrical designs. The first design of this kind in history. Realizing that fresh air would decompose the wood that had been preserved in fertile mud ever since the 5th and 6th centuries BC, a noted Greek archaeologist rushed the vases to Athens for preservative treatment 23 miles away. Also, a professor of an American university found in Greece a Mycenaean settlement dating back 3,500 years with temple, palace, private homes with plumbing and a municipal sewer system. And thus we learn from time to time things we never knew about ancient civilizations. How wonderful it would be if we could dig inside ourselves, expert archaeologists all, and nostalgic for mental tone, find the treasure inside of us. These treasures are our sincerity, our self-confidence, our capacity for genuine human interrelatedness, our desire to do good and to succeed in our undertakings, shoveled out, rarely dig. Your inner treasures, excavating and developing them, these treasures will bring you a long way toward the achievement of relaxation. Next segment, one more ingredient, and that ingredient is forgiveness. Are you a lover of omelets? Scramble up some eggs, cut up some onions, perhaps some cheese or tomatoes. Or, well, you may make your omelet, I'll make mine. Besides, maybe I don't want to give you my recipe. Anyway, getting back to serious things, we have been discussing a recipe for achieving relaxation in a noisy, turbulent, and insecure age. But we have left our one ingredient, and a basic fundamental one at that: forgiveness. Without forgiveness, you will not achieve relaxation. For no matter what success you have achieved, no matter what mountain you have climbed, no matter how much leisure you have, no matter how fine the goals you have delimited, you will still ache from the load of bitterness inside you. Forgiving is not easy. Someone has wronged you, and you feel and the wrong has hurt you. How can you ever forgive this person? Let me make 2 points. 1, you must try to see things from the other person's point of view. If you do this, you will see that your point of view may not be completely objective, and that your grievances, though painful and justified, may not take into consideration all levitating factors which you never considered. Holding a grudge hurts you most of all. The person you hate might not even know you're thinking about him. You are the one who suffers from your resentment. You poison yourself with the hostility you will not throw away. So you see that you must forgive others for hurting you, not only for the feeling of worth and dignity that the act of forgiving will give you, but for your own protection against the damage you will do to yourself. Most of all, however, you must learn to forgive yourself. You must learn to forgive yourself for your mistakes, past, present, and future. If you never made a mistake, you wouldn't be human. No one would want to know you. You'd be too perfect. No one could feel comfortable with you. You must learn to forgive yourself for the times you were inconsiderate, for the times you were not fully responsible, for the times you were not a good son or daughter, for the times you were not a good brother or sister, for the times you were not a good friend. You must forgive yourself for the times your work was not professional, for the times you were too timid, for the times you were too bold. You must forgive yourself for your confusion, for your bad temper, for your bad decisions, for your stupidity, and for your stubbornness. You're not such a bad person, you know. Give yourself the same consideration you'd give a friend, and forgive yourself for all your human imperfections. You are a human being, not a God. When you forgive yourself, you have taken a monumental stride toward relaxation. Next segment: liberation and relaxation. A final word about relaxation: you must liberate yourself. You must free yourself. During the days of the Nazi insanities in Germany and throughout Europe, thousands and thousands of innocent victims fled to various sectors of the worlds to escape. They traveled to Latin America, to other European nations, to the Orient, and to the United States. A middle-aged woman who had escaped the Nazi terror came to consult me many years ago. She asked me if plastic surgery could remove the tattoo on her arm, a number, a reminder of grim days. She had lost her family in a concentration camp, and now, safe in America, she had met a man who asked her to marry him. First, she wanted the number removed so that she could start a new life. I operated on her, and she married her man, a machinist. Yes, she had been a displaced person, displaced by the Nazi terror, and her loved ones dead in a concentration camp. But she went on living. She liberated herself from her horrible experiences, liberated herself from the memories of her persecutions, and went on to a new life. You too, you must liberate yourself. You must liberate yourself from the negative feelings, from resentment, from fear or failure, from the obsessions with which you torture yourself. You have no Gestapo, Gestapo, to root out, you out, to executions to flee. Still, you must defeat the Gestapo in yourself. That would immerse you in a concentration camp you have built for yourself. You must call on the courage and self-respect within you to overcome these negative feelings so that you can truthfully feel that you are a free person. A person who can take the 10 steps toward relaxation that we have outlined in this chapter, liberates himself. This is a major move in your search for self-improvement. We're going to start the next chapter in a second, but I'd like to mention one thing as I'm reading. It's possible that you might want to get this book, and you can do that by, I just pick Amazon because I'm familiar with it. Amazon has thousands and thousands and thousands of books. So you can, order this book for yourself and read through it for yourself. And you may want to get the book for yourself because if you do like I do, you might want to underline certain passages that have a direct meaning to your life personally. Anyway, we're going to start chapter 5. And chapter 5 is imagination and your self-fulfillment. 1 and 1 equals 2, and 2 and 2 equals 4, and so on. Mathematics, mathematics serves our needs, for we need precision in life. We must measure things, and exactly we want to know what time it is. We want to know how much money we have in our savings account. We don't want educated guesses. We want to know. But everything in life is not so precise. And there is inestimable value in many of our intangibles, which may completely elude mathematical type analysis. And so we live plotting our goals, choosing our strategies, planning for survival, and dreaming of achieving what is ideal. We turn inward for our help, inward to a force that is invisible, intangible, and yet so very real to our imagination. Imagination. You can't bottle it. You can't stuff it into a can. You can't roll it off in an assembly line. Imagination, you can't smoke it. You can't even eat it. You can't drink it. Imagination. You can't see it. You can't hold it in your hand. Yet it is there. The poet William Blake, whose lines still live many years after his death, once wrote this: "To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour." Blake's underlying words impress most vividly this power, this precious power of creative imagination. Is creative imagination the gift of the few only? Does it belong only to poets, philosophers, artists, and inventors? I don't believe this for 1 second, for we all have imagination. It is a part of us, like our feet, our arms, our heart, or our brain. Children live in a world that to a great extent is make-believe. They make up names for their dolls. They make up new words. They make up new forms of relationships as they play. Reality does not stand in their way, perhaps because they do not know it too well. They turn to their imagination to brighten up their world. Adults, for realistic reasons, cannot allow such free reign of imagination. Whereas adults, it is obvious that we must at all times be in touch with our responsibilities and be prepared to meet the demands that others will make on us. Living is a frantic daze of automation and conformity. Channelizing our days into routines and rigid patterns, we may feel necessary demands that we strive the free workings of our imagination. Yet you must hold on to your capacity for using your imagination. You must use this capacity intellectually to broaden your horizons, to exercise your originality and your uniqueness, and to formulate and oversee the successful attainment of your goals. Creative imagination is an essential attribute of the successful individual. And you don't have to be an Edison or Shakespeare or an Einstein. You are a human being, just as are the acknowledged greats of our world. You have a capacity for imagination too. It may be neglected, it may be hidden, it may be forgotten, but it is there. Imagination means the growth of images in your mind, images which you can manufacture for your own welfare. If you build in your mind good, healthy success images and make a daily task of this, you will be on your way to building a wonderful image of yourself, an image that you can relish. Using your imagination is a satisfying full-time job. It doesn't end when you leave your office or your store or your factory. No, sir. Imagination stays with you. It is a part of you, like the blood pouring through you, like your heartbeat. And indeed, imagination is the heartbeat of fulfillment. Creative imagination belongs to everybody who wants it, rich or poor, child or adult, executive or clerk. All of us, in living creatively, turn to our imagination to work out new answers to old problems. And now, suppose that we study the components of imagination in greater detail. Next segment. The ingredients of imagination. Here they are, spelled out. The ingredients of your imagination. And again, like as we've done in the past, the word imagination is broken down into I for inquiring minds, M for motivation, A for action, G for goal setting, I for inspiration, N for navigation, A for achievement, T for truth about yourself, I, intent to improve, O for orientation for progress, and N, nucleus of desire. Good enough. That spells it out for you. Imagination. So let's go. Number one, inquiring mind. This is basic to any thorough consideration of creative imagination. You inquire about yourself, about others, about things, about your world. You feel a healthy sort of curiosity, which arises out of your deep sense of liveness, out of your interest in your surroundings, out of your involvement in life itself. You refuse to fall into the boredom that besets many people. Your courage reinforces your tendency toward curiosity because you will not infringe, retreat from the demanding need to keep your eyes open. You seek truth and knowledge. You wish to get at the heart of things. You are an investigator, a private eye. You are a modern detective solving the problems of modern living. Let me tell you a story. It's about Dr. Bell, a tall, slender man with bushy hair, white face, and long, nervous fingernails. See him now in his lecture room at the Edinburgh University, surrounded by young men as he examines the caseload that the morning brings. Patient number one, Dr. Bell's rooted Scottish eyes survey him quickly. Gentlemen, who do we have here? A cobbler? I believe so. And a first-class cobbler, I would say, for he looks as if he's been busy indeed. Well, my good fellow, are you not a busy left-handed cobbler? The patient is bewildered. To his knowledge, Dr. Bell has not seen him before. How could he be describing him with such exactness then? The cobbler's condition diagnosed, Dr. Bell, turns swiftly to the next patient. He studies him for just a few minutes. An old soldier, right? Service in India, I believe. Afghanistan border or the Afghan border. That's a nasty wound in your leg. Sit down and relax. Get the weight off of it. We will see what we can do to help you. He was not infallible, the great Dr. Bell, but he was close to it, and some of his students thought him as being a magician. And what constituted his magic? Observation. Dr. Bell would explain, that's all there is to it. Observation. But the students had been observing, or so they thought, and none of them had identified the first patient as a cobbler. Simple indeed, gentlemen. Did you note the worn places on the man's trousers? Surely they gave away his trade instantly. And since they were more scuffed up on the right side than on the left side, he was obviously left-handed. As for the soldier, his military posture gave him away. The color of his skin indicated service in India. The limp indicated an injury that must have been suffered 10 years ago. The only action in India 10 years ago that took place at the Afghanistan border. Simple, yes. Once you listen to the explanations, simple indeed. The spirit of the bright Sherlock Holmes, however, this Edmund Berg classroom, for a medical student listened carefully to Dr. Bell as he lectured in the 1870s. And remember well what he heard. He was a tall, shrewd young man, Arthur Conan Doyle. Detective stories have been popular quite a while. Whodunit, it's not only claimed their share of readers, but we also find many detective stories on television. Many of us enjoy the cleverness of the detective, identifying with him the modern Sherlock Holmes as he unravels a complicated problem. And since it is exciting to play detective, it is certainly fortunate that we can all be Sherlock Holmes in our own right. By using our imagination, by using our mind to inquire into things, being a detective, use your inquiring mind, your problem, trying to unravel your endlessly, unbelievably complex personality. See if you can find out why you like some people, why you hate others. Borrow Sherlock Holmes' magnifying glass and focus it on yourself, investigating yourself. See if you can track down your internal enemy, Mr. Shortcomings, that part of yourself who fears failure. See if you can track down Mr. Shortcomings, who criminally shortchanges you even though you think he is with you. See if you can bring him out into the open and dispose of him so that he can be a freer person. You have one wonderful advantage. If you play detective to yourself, no other detective has this advantage. Other detectives, Sherlock Holmes, Nero, Buffet, or whomever, use their ingeniality to track down evil. But when you become your own Sherlock Holmes, you are out to track down not only evil, but also to bring out the good qualities in you. And when you discover these qualities, you are a great detective. You are discovering something wonderful, qualities to build your self-image on, quality that will lead you back to your past successes, then forward to new successes. Number 2, motivation. Imagination, as we look at it, means motivation to improve yourself, or chances are that you can plan useful goals in your imagination and then see their materialization in reality if your motivation is sound. In other words, you must want to succeed. You must want the goal, the good life for yourself. You must want to build an imagination full of success images. You must want to tear out of your imagination the negative images that are forerunners of failure. You must motivate yourself. You must feel that you are a worthwhile person, and you must have a genuine stake in building your strength in your imagination. Where kings are beggars and beggars are kings. Number 3, action. Imagination implies action. Imagination never is passive, dynamic, kinetic. It changes constantly with the daily need to adjust to circumstances, internal and external, and with the daily need to move toward relaxation and happiness. You do not exercise your imagination and let it go at that. Your imagination is more than a resting place for the storage and oiling up of your thoughts and images. Positive thinking is wonderful, but you prepare yourself to move one step further to positive doing. You oil your servo mechanism and proceed to accelerate its motor so that you can charge forward to your goals. A great actor like Laurence Olivier is playing the role of Hamlet. He is not Hamlet. You know this. You know this. And yet he acts as if he is Hamlet. And you suspend your disbelief and you believe he is Hamlet. He projects Hamlet across the footlights and you accept him as Hamlet. You too can make the connection between imagination and action. Every day you are an actor. We all are. And you can do more than strengthen your imagination with healthy images and inquiring thought. Excuse me, I'm sorry. You can do this by carrying out into action the healthy side of your imagination. Your success images, not your failure images. And making yourself, in action, the successful person you want to be, not the failure person you want to forget. Use your imagination positively. Make this your daily goal. Build in your imagination images of yourself in success. Success past, present, and future. Build these good images every single day. But then do more than this. Carry the full power of your imagination resources back out into the world of reality. If you can supplement the workings of a creative imagination with the capacity for intelligence, purposeful action, you are on your way. Number 4, goal setting. Creative imagination means goals. Through imagination, goals begin to take shape. Imagination generates the growth of desire, which is in effect the takeoff point of a goal. Perhaps you feel you do not have this desire, that you are incapable of formulating definite goals, that you just don't care. But this is basically not true. No matter who you are, no matter what your circumstances, you feel somewhat the desire to live and be happy. Set your goals. Start with these universal goals, then move on to other simple basic goals, then up the ladder to more complex goals. Use your imagination to help you in your goal setting. See in your mind the goals that realistically, aside from fantasy, will make you happy. Number 5, inspiration. Imagination also implies inspiration. You must learn to use your imaginating powers in worthwhile ways that will give your life new meaning. You may find inspiration in different ways. What inspires one person may depress someone else, and of course, vice versa. Sometimes I find inspiration as by closing my eyes and bringing into my imagination a mental picture of my father. As I mentioned earlier, my father died a number of years ago. He died in a horrible accident, but I don't want to write about that here. I want to write about how I bring him to life in my mind. I close my eyes and I see him again, as real as if I'd last seen him yesterday. Broad-shouldered, erect, with piercing eyes and a huge sweeping mustache, which he trimmed regularly. He had come to this country as a poor immigrant from Australia, and perhaps this explains why he dressed so immaculately. In richly made suits, silk shirts with high starched collar and lavish accessories. I see him again in my mind. Through gone still, he lives there, and it inspires me. Not just his physical image, but the kind of person he was. I bring back into my mind something that happened when I was younger, the kind of incident that made me proud he was my father. But before I relate this story, let me give you a little background. My dad was kind of a neighborhood arbitrator. He loved to help people settle their arguments, make up their differences. He loved to help people cast off their negations and go on to better things. He claimed that this helped him forget all about his rheumatoidism, from which he suffered for some time. Anyway, one day, Dad saved a neighborhood boy from cruel punishment. The boy, Tony, was fleeing from another youth named Whitney, a terror to many. Whitney had said that he was going to get Tony and that he was going to slash a knife across his chest. My dad learned this as he sat on a pier overlooking the New York's East River. Enjoying the scenery, Tony, running, stopped to tell him about it urgently. "Whitney coming for me now," gasped Tony. My father told him not to worry and showed him where to hide. He would take care of Whitney, and there was Whitney looking for Tony. Dad hailed him in a companionable way and asked if he knew Tony. Whitney said, "Yes, I think Tony will make a fine fabric designer," said Dad. "I'm going to give him lessons in my shop, and maybe you too, Whitney. There might be something you'd be interested in." Dad got to his feet. "Of course," he added, "if something happened to Tony, I'd be very unhappy." He slapped Whitney on the back in his hearty, friendly way. There was no trouble, and I'm sure Dad's rheumatism was better that night. Dad was always doing this kind of thing, making the community a better place to live in. and making me very proud that I was his son, determined that I would always justify his faith in me. Anyway, to get back to my main point, when I get depressed, when I'm down on myself, when I need an emotional lift, sometimes I just close my eyes and use my imagination. I see my father again in his Danish clothes, with his broad shoulders, with his unwavering eyes above his starched collar, and I remember his determination to be a good husband, a good father, a good neighbor, and how he used to extend a helping hand to times of stress. Sometimes this makes me sad, but it gives me inspiration. Your imagination can give you inspiration too. I cannot tell you how. This is so individual, but chances are it can. Give me 1 second and I will be right back. Okay, I came right back. And we will start with number 6, navigation. Okay. Imagination also means navigation. A modern day Columbus, you sail in your imagination through the choppy seas of frustration toward new horizons, toward a new port, toward a new self-image. As you make your voyage through the vast spaces within your mind, finding that the world within you is not flat with emptiness and despair, you, like Columbus, learn that the world within your mind is indeed round. Round so that the outreaching hands of success and happiness can encircle it. Searching within your imagination, you learn that you can improve yourself by overthrowing the tyranny of your old destructive feelings as you look within yourself for the creation of new positive feelings. Number 7, achievement. With your imagination, you launch yourself towards achievement. You remove the debris of hurt feelings that deprive you of an inner security you deserve. With your keys, you may be able to unlock the front door of your home, of your office, or you may be able to unlock your automobile too. Still, your key to relaxation and contentment and to the satisfactions of achievement you will find in your imagination. It is a tragedy, but for your own self-destruction. I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat that. It is a tragedy when you use your imagination not for achievement, but for your own self-destruction. As in the case of a man who visited me recently to tell me of his troubles and to see if I could help him. This poor man's imagination was a beehive of trouble. He saw visions of disaster. He achieved little. His imagination betrayed him. He was about 40, unmarried, worked for his brother in a store. He wanted to get married and improve himself, but felt too unworthy. And in his mind, his manufactured trouble, whenever he saw a hearse passing in the street, he had to rush and wash his hands. Whenever He passed a hospital and saw an ambulance. He had to rush and wash his hands. He lived near a hospital, so this caused him considerable hand washing. If he did not wash his hands at some times, he told himself he would die. He talked to me of these terrible fears that lived in his imagination and of the frightening ideas his imagination perpetuated. If I don't wash my hands, I will be trapped, he said over and over. I'll be trapped if I don't wash my hands. In many ways, he was a most reasonable person. It seemed to me, but then he would lose himself in these dreadful fears. How to help him? He had been a psychiatrist. Whether this had helped him or not, I did not know. I wanted to do whatever I could to help him to use his imagination for achievement, not for self-destruction. What kind of parents did you have? I asked him. They were good religious people, but my mother didn't love my father. How do you know that? She didn't like to spend time with him. She would give me a lot of attention so she could avoid him. We talked further. I could sense that he probably felt guilty over his mother's fussing over him, her overprotective attitude, and doubtless he felt resentment toward both his parents in washing his hands over and over. Perhaps he was symbolically washing away his guilt. Anyway, what I could tell him to help him to put his imagination to a positive instead of negative use in the interest of achievement, I said something like this. Perhaps you need more help than I can give you. If so, go get it. But listen to what I have to say. Maybe it will help you. Whatever happened to you in the past is not your fault. You have no need to feel guilty. If your mother and father did not love each other, yours is not the guilt. I know that your life has not been easy. Your brother is married and he's your boss. Your sister is married too. You feel like the unworthy one in the family. You've got to try to keep fighting these dreadful fears. You've got to live in the present and set goals every day and wake up in the morning and try to get goals and fight off your fears. I know this won't be easy for you, but you have to keep trying and keep setting your goals and keep trying to use your imagination constructively to reach your goals. Remember that your life belongs to you. Keep trying. If my ideas don't help you, maybe somebody else can help you. But try and keep trying. Whatever successes you have had in your life, keep them in your imagination. See them again and again so you can make something good of your life. And good luck. I hope you find yourself. I don't know what has happened to this man, in truth. I felt the construction worker had more hope since his background was more success-filled and he was more functional. But perhaps I was able to help steer him on the road to using his imagination for achievement and not negation. I hope so. Anyway, his unfortunate use of his imagination as a breeding ground for disaster. This is what you must avoid. You must use your imagination for achievement. Number 8. Truth about yourself. Creative imagination also implies that you seek the truth about yourself. In the midst of honking automobiles and blaring radios, breathing in air of a quality you might not like, to think about and buried on all sides by television commercials, you turn to your imagination to find a focus. You seek to look into yourself as you are objectively. You look behind you, before you, and within you. Your imagination, you seek to take stock of yourself, your assets as well as your liabilities. It is good if you concentrate on overcoming your faults, but this is not enough. You must also give your attention to the development of your assets. You must cherish these assets and work with them as you keep reactivating the all-important functioning of your success mechanism. It is also important that you see the past in your proper perspective. If you can't do this, you can see again your past mistakes and be in a position to avoid them. I do not mean that you should rot about these past mistakes and blame yourself for them. The real purpose of seeing the past in proper perspective is that you can live today. Finally, in your imagination, you must plan for today. You must see in your mind some of today's possibilities. Your main focus should not be on out-competing Joe or Harry or Fred. These goals do not carry you to your full potential. Your primary excitement should be to improve yourself, to compete with yourself. You aim at becoming a more mature, complete individual day by day and week by week and year by year. Number 9 is intent for improvement. Intent to improve, excuse me. I'm going to circle that. And we will start on number 9 in chapter, I think it's 4, on Saturday. And in closing, I would like to say that I hope everybody has a great and fantastic day. I hope that your successes will be like the stars. Just keep reaching for the stars, and your successes will follow you. I find that this is a lot of fun to be able to read very interesting and great books by great people and to share these thoughts with you. Because I know that a lot of times reading is not something that everybody is really, how should I say, into. But I do know that a lot of people will take maybe an hour out of their day to watch a video. And I hope you do. So anyway, in closing, I'll see you next Saturday. And by the way, that will be 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do this every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And if you can't make the meeting itself, I hope you take a look at the videos. And I hope that it teaches you and you learn something that may be of great help to you. Thank you again, and have a great day. And I'll see you on Saturday.